Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Negler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. It is Tuesday. I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at. I'm gearing up to get the hell out of here. That's right, only two more Packers Dailies till Negler's on a plane getting out of Dodge. But that does not mean things will stop here at Cheesehead TV. We'll have new content for you both here on the YouTube channel and on the website each and every day. Make sure you're checking early and often, as you always do. Packers fans worldwide, we are devoted to you. That's why we do what we do. Thanks so much for checking it out. And the Packers, small headline as far as signing their undrafted free agent class, only 8 strong this season. Obviously a byproduct of the fact that they have been drafting so many bodies, 11 this year, 13 last year. That is going to limit the amount of guys that you can realistically get on the practice field, give legitimate opportunities. And as we talked about yesterday, it is something Green Bay is known for. Around the league, you talk to agents, they know if their guy does sign with Green Bay as an undrafted guy, he's going to get a legitimate opportunity. A lot of places talk about that, but it is very obvious when you look at the camps and who especially ends up making rosters and things of that nature, who really gives opportunities to undrafted guys. That doesn't mean the Packers still don't err towards their draft picks. We've seen that certainly under Brian Gutekunst as well as Ted Thompson, but the competition is real and the opportunity is real in Green Bay. The Packers put up their class here. I'll show it on the screen. This is carepackers.com. I'll tell you what, those are 8 gentlemen who could make a bid to be members of the 2024 Green Bay Packers. I know there's been a lot of talk uh, about Donovan Jennings, the offensive lineman out of South Florida, but for my money, I am very keen to get a look at James Esther, the defensive lineman out of Northern Illinois. Once camp starts, once the pads come on, I know it's hard to make much of an impression prior to the pads coming on. So that's why, like, especially when it comes to line play, I'll just wait till the pads come on. But Esther, looking at his college tape, man, he's exciting. I really like his upside and the fact that they didn't draft any defensive linemen. Clearly, they're switching schemes. So you got to think they like what he might bring to what Halfley is asking them to do up front. I do think he's got a chance to make it, turn some heads and make the most of those opportunities. But we will see what happens once summer rolls around, training camp opens up. Until then, I'm sure we'll get lots of reports about guys in helmets and shorts, and it's going to be very exciting. And we'll be covering it all here at GZ TV. Hello to everybody in the comment section. Hope you're all doing well. Good to see everybody. Benarak, how are you? Dennis, how are you? Brandy's here. Hi, hello, Brandy. Aaron already leave on his vacation. Jocelyn, I am right here. What do you mean? I will be leaving Thursday. Nags, Ben Fennell had intriguing suggestion the Packers could switch up who plays nickel based on opponent's slot receiver, be it tight end, running back, typical slot wide receiver. Joseph, you should check out my video that I did yesterday with Cody Alexander. I had that exact kind of thought / question. I think it will be somewhat opponent dependent. There's zero doubt about that. I think because of all the different moving pieces they could potentially have. Now, these guys have to do the work, right? They have to hit the ground running. They have to show they can stand up to NFL competition, not swimming in the playbook and things of that nature. But yeah, if these guys do show that they can handle it, yeah, I think the possibility is there for some real mixing and matching, almost what they've done on offense with the offensive line, but really dependent on, okay, this team really likes to spread it out and they've got a lot of shifty guys, a lot of guys they try to get into space. Well, we're going to respond with this package, which features these guys. Very, very early days in that regard. Like I said, these guys have to do the work and have to show that they belong and that they won't be kind of swimming upstream, so to speak, if they were to be put out there right away. I mean, look no further than last year, right? And Tucker Kraft and the fact that he had a very, very rough summer. And I think that's being kind, right? And even then the season begins and the little we saw of him, it was not great. And it was, he did look like he was swimming upstream. He did look like it was too big for him. But lo and behold, you get to the end of the year. Thankfully for the Packers' sake, it pretty much coincided with Musgrave's injury. But Kraft getting on the field on the regular, suddenly he started to improve. You certainly saw the development that he had basically been growing throughout the year. And last month of the season or so, he looked the part. He looked like he was ready and sometimes it's gonna take a while. Some guys maybe pop right away during training camp, right? Maybe some guys might not pop till year 2, but these tantalizing ideas that we all have, while exciting, right? And this is why I always say, and that's why I will keep saying all summer, I got to see it. These are great visions in our head here sitting in April or almost May. They got to do it, man. And if they look like Tucker did last summer, it's going to take a bit. We're going to have to hold off on some of these ideas. And that's not to malign Tucker and it's not to malign any of these rookies, but that's life in the NFL. It's very rare that guys come in and just light it up and, we can utilize him right away. Mileage may vary dependent on the guy. Peter, thanks for the super chat, man. How do you teach ball control at the pro level, fumbling for running backs? Oh, Peter, that's a good question. Obviously, that's a question about Marshawn Lloyd and some of the fumbling issues he's had. I'm sure they probably won't be overbearing about it. They'll probably just reinforce technique, the 3 pressure points that every back is taught all the time. But I don't think my hunch would be they're not going to go overboard on it. It's something they clearly think that it's not going to be a problem. They think they can manage and or teach. So I do think they'll drill it a little bit more with the rookie. But again, I doubt they go overboard. Just emphasizing technique as much as you can. Michael Lower, what's up, man? Hey, Nags, love this draft class. Filled a lot of our needs. Super Bowl bound. Go Pack, go. There you go. That's the attitude we like. Uncultured, how are you, man? Thanks so much for the super chat. Watching the Netflix doc on Duran Duran. Not my cup of tea musically, but it's an entertaining hour. Random Packer and UDFA legend J-Ron Elliott. Man, I love J-Ron Elliott. And yes, I watched that Duran Duran doc. It's really good. And I love Duran Duran, so I was into it. But the J-Ron Elliott thing, funnily enough, that's one of the first guys I ever kind of really got excited about as an undrafted free agent when the day the pads came on. I'll never forget. I still think you can find it. There's a blog post somewhere where I very excitedly ran back to, I think we were still producing copy in the old ice cream shop inside Lambeau Field's atrium back then because I didn't have credentials or anything. But hurriedly setting up my laptop and letting the world know how exciting J-Ron Elliott looked when the pads came on. Old school, man. Old school. Jeezy Baby, thanks for the super chat. Do you think there is a multiverse where Corey is a Bears fan and he loved the Bears picking a punter in the 4th round? Random Packer, Paul Ott Caruth. Wow, Jeezy Baby, you kind of just blew my mind right there. No. I tend to think if there were to be a multiverse where Corey was a Bears fan, it would tear at the very fabric of nature to the point where all life would implode in on itself and everything would just cease to exist. That's my guess there. I could be wrong. Dennis. I'm sorry. I don't know why that made me laugh. Them boys from Duran Duran did okay with the ladies. I don't know why that's funny, but it is. Jocelyn, thanks for the super chat. I can't wait for 85 and 88 next year. League not ready. You are not lying. You talk about an exciting pairing, and the fact that Matt can really play with tendencies and how he utilizes them and attacks defenses and even probably sometimes gets them off balance. And the way that, Jordan Love can take advantage of things at the line of scrimmage dependent on how the defensive coordinator responds as far as sub packages or trying to match personnel. And then, okay, we had a run on, but now I see I've got a one-on-one on the backside. I'm going to take that. Thank you very much. I'm all in. I'm with you. I'm thinking it's going to be very exciting. Ian, thanks for the super chat, man. Thanks for all the draft coverage, Aaron. Do you think Kalen King can play slot? Random Packer, Carlisle Holiday. Wow, that's a first. Well done. The first random Packers are tough to get at this point, but that's a good one. Do I think he can play slot? I think he can. He has a bit, but he is very much an outside perimeter corner. That doesn't mean that he won't be given that opportunity and or asked to see if he can do it, right? But I think they have a lot of options in the slot now after this draft, after those safeties who a lot of them have experience in the slot to go along with Keyshawn Nixon. I do think they're going to run King on the perimeter to start with, at least, just to see what they've got there. And see if he can kind of regain his form that he saw and that we all saw in 2022. We know 2023 was a bit rough, a bit up and down, but the tools are there. So I think I would suspect they start him on the perimeter and maybe give him some opportunities inside as camp goes on. She said, Joey, what's up, man? Corey being a Packers fan is a canon event. Exactly. There's no multiverse. There is no what if. He's just a Packers fan. T-shirt. The Chicago Bears are an insult to bears. You're not wrong. Wow. Matthew says we are definitely going to the Super Bowl this year. This is our time. I'm loving the Super Bowl talk. I mean, a lot of ball game left. A lot of things got to happen. A lot of work's got to be done. But hey, man, dream big. Why not? Michael, thanks for checking out the stream on Facebook. Where do you see Van Ness in this new defensive scheme? As a defensive end, mostly. Now, I think something is to watch that's going to be interesting is how much he is asked to play with his hand in the dirt versus how much he's asked to stand up, especially on obvious passing downs. So something I talked with Cody about regarding this scheme. Traditionally, you're going to have guys with their hands in the dirt on all three downs, right? But some of the sub packages, some of the pressure packages that they utilize may ask him to play with his play standing up, if only because they're going to want to ask him to drop. Now, I don't think that's going to happen a lot, but I do think it's going to be part of the arsenal. That said, I think for the most part, he's going to be a defensive end, a 4-3 end, hand in the dirt, out wide, past the tackle and or tight end. And he's going to be getting upfield and both setting the edge and trying to get to the quarterback. Or as Cody put it, stopping the run on the way to the quarterback, which I like. Sean, thanks for the super chat, man. There was a talk about the 4-2 alignment we could play. Is this the way the league is going? I was just getting excited to see 3 linebackers back there. Oh, Sean, yeah, no, that is very much the way the league is going. And you will see 3 linebackers on the field at times. It will be rare. Okay, maybe not rare, but I think it will be, hovering around 15, 20% of the time. They will be in some 4-2-5 variation most of the time they're on the field. That doesn't mean that those bodies won't mix up a little bit as far as like safeties and corners and things like that. But the vision probably would be you've got your 4 down linemen, you've got Quay and Cooper, and then you've got some mixing and matching of Jair, and then whoever ends up being corner 2, let's say probably Carrington Valentine, and then you've got McKinney on the back end as your post safety, Nixon maybe in the slot, maybe Bullard mixed in there, maybe Oladapo, depending on what they want to do. But yes, more often than not, you will see 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers. That will be, I would think, predominant. What do I think drafting Jordan Morgan means for Rasheed Walker? That's a good question. I think they're going to continue to let Walker battle. They very clearly would prefer Morgan to win the left tackle job. I don't think there's any question there. But I do buy Brian and the Packers when they talk about wanting competition in every room. And look, it's not like Walker didn't put some really good stuff on tape, especially down the end of the stretch last year. I do think there's a decent chance he starts the year as their swing tackle. I don't know how, adept he is going to be at playing on the right side. That's something we're going to have to see throughout camp in the preseason. But I do think there's a good chance that that's, where they give him the opportunities. And who knows, maybe he ends up playing right tackle if he shows he's got a kind of inkling for it and they want to kick Tom inside. Who knows? But, there's every chance they leave Tom at right tackle and Monk wins the center job and away they go. Or, Myers holds off Monk or who knows. But for Walker, I think the most likely outcome is he ends up being their swing tackle. But we'll see. Ways to go. What else we got here, folks? Nags, Travis Glover has a fake punt run for a first down on his resume. The more you can do, right? Obviously a special teams weapon. Marshall Duke, what's going on, man? Hey, Nags, if the Packers sign an established veteran post-draft, what position do you think they would attack? It's a good question. Yeah, I don't know, man. They signed an offensive tackle right before the draft. maybe a corner. I would be surprised if it was a safety, but maybe the secondary gets some attention. But, if they do, they're going to have to let somebody go because they are at their limit at this point. So I do think there's a chance they churn the roster a little bit, but for the most part, I think they're going to want to see what they have and, go through the offseason program and then get to camp before they really do any of that. But you never know. Jim says Morgan needs to improve his technique to beat Walker. Well, Walker needs to hit the ground running and pick up where he left off last year. Like, let's not forget, that's not a given. And as far as Morgan needs to improve his technique in some areas, sure, but he's also excellent at other things that they're going to ask him to do, especially in the run game and the zone scheme. I understand that Walker, like I said, played well down the stretch, but there's a reason Brian, Stenovich, LaFleur, each one of them, when talking about Walker, either at the end of last year or through this offseason, has mentioned how, there's a lot more work to be done there. He is not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. And we've seen plenty of times where guys play well down the stretch or play well for a few months, and then they come back after an offseason and they just do not pick up where they left off. And I'm not like, it is up to Walker, right? Like, I hope he does, and I'm expecting him to, but it's not a given. We'll see what they look like. Sean, thanks for the super chat, man. Does the two linebackers limit their role? I could see Cooper doing some Micah Parsons things. Limit their role? Not really, Sean. There's still principles out of a 4-3 where you're doing what is asked of a Will or of Mike linebacker. It's just the body next to you that's kind of changing. And probably the formation and the alignments are changing, dependent on down distance, dependent on opponent, or personnel packages, etc. I mean, there's so many different ways you could go with it. But the predominant thing you're going to see are those two linebackers together. Hey, Chad, how are you, man? Hey, Aaron, are you as excited as I am to make Caleb Williams look pedestrian twice a year moving forward? I'm glad you asked about him because, man, I really wanted to root for this kid in the NFL, and now he's a fucking bear. It really sucks, but, we're just going to have to watch him disintegrate as a member of the Chicago Bears because that's what they do. They just kill quarterbacks. And yeah, look, I think it's going to be fun watching Bears fans have hope all summer long again, and then watching them crash and burn throughout the season. Like, it's just at this point you can just set it and forget it. I do think Caleb's really talented, right? But if there is a team and a franchise that has shown they have no idea what they're doing when it comes to developing the quarterback position, they reside in Chicago. No question. Jesse Huber, good point, man. The Packers will have to cut some guys they like who were on the team last year. I don't see the door open at all for any of these undrafted guys. I guess we'll see. Yes and no. I mean, there's no doubt that there's going to be a numbers game at play when it comes to cutdown time. But as Ted used to always say, like sometimes injuries just take care of that all on its own. But at the same time, don't discount just because a guy's undrafted. If he steps on the field, remember what LaFleur says, and he's absolutely right. We don't care how you got there. We care what you do when you're here. And if you come to camp and you are there every day making plays, turning heads, and every time the coaches are turning on the tape, they're like, well, look at this guy. You're going to get more opportunities. And that may lead to a roster spot. Now, I'm not saying, yeah, you're not wrong. The idea is a very uphill battle, like no question. But they'll get opportunities. And, just because there are guys they like doesn't mean that's going to preclude a guy who's undrafted. Although, in past years, we've seen upwards of like 16, 15 guys come in as undrafted free agents. This year, there's 8. That's reflective of the fact that they have had these two pretty big draft classes these past 2 seasons. What else we got? I'm rooting for Michael Pratt. What a humbling article on his story. I mean, you can't find a better kind of, I'm not going to say project, but a prospect to root for. Absolutely. I really like his tape. I mean, I don't think he's a world beater, but I think he's going to come in and give Sean Clifford a run for his money. And that's kind of what we were just talking about with Jesse's comment, right? I mean, that's a 7th round pick who's going up against the incumbent backup, but it's going to be about who puts what on tape and who does what in practice and who does it consistently. You talk about it's weird to think coming off a season where you were in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, but it is going to be a very competitive camp. And that's what I'm probably most excited about for this summer. Ryan, thanks for the super chat, man. What do you think about the possibility of the Super Bowl being played on President's Day weekend? I know it's something the NFL has been pining for and aiming for forever. They've been talking about this like for over a decade. This has been something they've been shooting for, along with the 18 games. And speaking of the 18 games, I saw the Washington Post report that ownership is hoping to go to the players union and potentially try to move to 18 games even before a new CBA is agreed upon, which that's adorable. Good luck with that. But it just shows the appetite the owners have for, extending this out, adding games, adding time to the calendar. Because look, the NFL does have the longest offseason of every major sport, right? Every major sport in America. And they've done a phenomenal job of making sure that they're in the headlines as much as possible throughout that offseason. But being in the headlines and being, mentioned or on top of mind doesn't pay. That 18th game, that'll pay. And that'll get big money as far as like, the television rights, media rights, etc. So they'll pitch that to the players as far as this will expand the pie by X and you're going to get this much more. I'd be very surprised if the players acquiesce to that or the Super Bowl President's Day weekend, extension without a major look at a renegotiation of the CBA. And that's a couple years away. Rabbit Damalazano, I can't say your name, but Wisconsin long snapper will make the team. You putting it down. He's throwing it down right here. I was going to say that's something I like every offseason. Justice and I joked about this last year. You gotta pick your guy. You gotta claim your dude right now. Who you think is going to make the squad as an undrafted free agent, or if it's a wide receiver bat, who's your wide receiver, or if it's a corner or the safeties or the three safeties who have been drafted. Who's your guy? You got to claim it now and then hold on to that claim for the rest of your life. Those are the rules. Al, what's up? Do you think Sean Ryan starts at right guard with Runyon gone? I think he'll be given the opportunity. I think he'll probably line up with the ones when the offseason program starts and the media is allowed to, take a look for the first time. But I do think they are going to have a lot of guys rolling in and out of there throughout the offseason and definitely during camp once those pads come on. I do not doubt they will have pretty much everybody who has any experience along the interior, both, veterans and rookies, they're going to get a shot. I don't think Sean's done anything to solidify that spot yet. And that's, again, the theme of the offseason. We're going to hear it. I'm sure you guys are already sick of it. I'm going to say it a million more times this offseason. It's about competition, every spot, in every room, and that right guard spot, 100% in that mix, so to speak. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to get going. I can't thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. If you're a Patreon member or a Carry the G Club member here on YouTube, don't forget, we've got happy hour at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Lambeau time. I'll see you there. The information is on your respective pages. The rest of you, please hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack, go.